You're listening to The Bold Blueprint with Claire Bartlett. This is the go-to podcast for business owners who are ready to be bold, step into your power and claim the success that you deserve. So whether you're an established business or just starting out, this podcast is your weekly dose of unapologetic inspiration, empowerment and actionable advice to take your business to the next level. Today's episode is brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of small businesses and a proud sponsor of the Bold Blueprint podcast. Managing your business finances can feel overwhelming, but Xero simplifies it all and gives you the power to keep your books in order and your mind on growth. Xero have amazingly offered a 50% discount off your first 3 months with them. So if you'd like to take advantage of this amazing deal, just follow the link in the show note. But for now, let's jump into this week's episode. Hello, my lovely ones, and welcome back to another episode of The Bold Blueprint. I am so excited to be back behind the mic with you today, and this episode feels like a big, deep breath of fresh air. You know those first few days of spring where the sun actually warms your skin and the world just feels a little bit softer? Well, that is where I'm at today. The other morning, I looked out into the garden and noticed that the daffodils had started to bloom and there was just bursts of yellow and green and life. The tulips are starting to push through and suddenly it's just like, colour has returned, not just to the garden, but to my mind as well. And after what has felt like just the longest winter ever, those grey, dragging days that seem to just last forever, the sunshine has been like medicine. It's lifted my mood and brightened my energy. And now here's where this ties beautifully into today's episode. Because with this new energy and new season, I started to get that familiar itch, the spring clean feeling, but not just in my home, but in my business and in my life. And it got me thinking, we are so conditioned to believe that growth comes from adding more offers, more processes, more platforms, marketing strategies, more content, more goals. But what if the real secret to growth isn't more? What if it's less? What if it's actually about clearing space mentally, physically, emotionally to make room for clarity and creativity and real business momentum? So, today we're going to dive into how to spring clean your business, your mind, and your life so you can feel lighter, more aligned, and more ready than ever to move boldly through the rest of this year. And honestly, it has got me so excited for the year ahead again. So, let's get into it. The business spring clean. If your business is feeling heavy and complicated and overwhelming or just not quite right, this is where to start. It's not about adding more. It's about making space for what actually matters. So let's declutter, streamline, and realign for success. So let's begin with simplifying your offers and services. Because for so many of us, our service menus have become buffets. There's everything from VIP days to digital downloads, power hours, retainer packages, group programs, coaching, one-to-one, membership webinars. There's so much. And I'm not saying that these aren't valuable, but when you try to offer everything, it dilutes your message, can confuse your audience, and often leaves you completely overwhelmed. So it's time to ask yourself, which of these are actually lighting you up? Which ones are profitable? And which ones are aligned with where you're heading with your business? Maybe you started the year with an idea for a course, but that is no longer exciting to you. Or maybe it's a service that used to sell really, really well, but it's just not hitting the same sales anymore. You are allowed and encouraged to evolve in business. Pick your core offers, the ones that, one, bring you energy, bring you income, and help you make an impact, and then let go of the rest. Honestly, simplifying is so beneficial and it's an easy way so people can know exactly how they can work with you. Next, let's look under the hood of your business, your systems and your workflows, your automations. Because sometimes we set up processes and then just never revisit them. There's that old saying, don't fix what isn't broken, but sometimes maybe it's worth just having a little review. What made sense for you when you were a team of one might now be totally clunky with a VA in place. Or you might just be stuck in old systems that worked great in 2022, but just don't cut it now. So, again, ask yourself, where are things taking longer than they should? Which areas of my business can maybe be automated? What no longer needs to be done at all? For example, I recently realized that I was still manually emailing onboarding links to all my new clients every single time. It was taking me so much time to onboard these clients. And I think probably from their experience was also felt really outdated and clunky. So I just set up a really simple automation, and suddenly that whole task has just disappeared from my plate. It's freed up my time, some headspace, mental energy, but also it's creating a much smoother, streamlined process for my new clients. It's showing my business off in a much better light. So there's loads of little areas in your business that you can make these tiny little tweaks to that take you very little time, but can have a huge impact in your client's experience working with you, in your experience of running the business, or in staff members' experiences of being involved in the business. There's loads of areas that you can look at. Email sequences is a great one, systemizing that to an extent. Like I've already mentioned, client onboarding and offboarding, proposals and invoice systems. That's a great one. If you are still stuck on a Word document, manually entering all of the information every single time for a new client invoice, honestly, your mind could be blown. Zero, our sponsor, their system is incredible. You build one template that is just there, and then everything auto populates each time. Honestly, it saved me hours and hours of my billing. Calendar bookings is another huge one. So for ages, I used to spend, so much time going back and forth with people trying to find a suitable time for us to meet on a Zoom or whatever it was. Now I use Calendly and I just send them a very quick link and I say, here is my diary, find a time that suits you. And I have no more interaction, don't have to spend any more time finding a time that suits us both because they have full visibility of my diary. Honestly, it's game changing. So Calendly is a huge win for any business owner who schedules meetings with their clients. Social media planning is another great one. How can I build a easier process for me to schedule and create my content? Even the smallest of tweaks can create massive ease in your business. And it's that snowball effect. The more of these tiny little changes that you make in your business, the more and more time that you have free for yourself to work on your business. But also, just it brings the joy back. You're not stuck in that admin phase anymore. You have so much more time for the fun stuff. Okay, the next point is decluttering your finances. Now, this one is so overlooked, but it can be so powerful. Cleaning up your money. Let's get honest. When was the last time that you looked closely at your business bank statement and cross checked every single transaction? You can start with any old subscriptions or direct debits that, especially the small ones that we don't really, put any weight on them. It can be something that you cancelled months ago and suddenly you'll notice that it's actually still coming out of your bank. This happens all of the time. So it's so important to just do that quick run through. I normally do like a 3 months because sometimes things aren't a monthly, but they can be quarterly charges, etc. So I'll always look over 3 months and just check that everything that's come out should have come out. It's things that I'm expecting. And I also always go into my direct debit list in my bank account and check that there's none that are still active, even if they're not taking money right now. If that link is still active, they can take money at any point. So make sure that you close down and delete any outstanding old direct debits. There'll be also things that there's tools, softwares that you've signed up for, maybe that you're just not using. Maybe it's time to just admit that it all looked great and it sounded fabulous, but in reality, you've got no use for it in your business and it's time to say goodbye. You might have duplicate services, things that are really sort of giving you the same solutions. So you can downstream and sort of figure out which one you're going to keep. You might be surprised by what's quietly slipping out of your bank every month. So it's really important to do this, honestly, not just at springtime, but at least quarterly, going deeper on your bank statements, reviewing where your money is actually going. Ask yourself the questions: are you investing in the areas that move the needle forward in your business? Are your marketing efforts bringing in a return on investment? Are you paying for things out of convenience rather than value for your business? And obviously, a huge point is your pricing still aligned with the energy and goals of your business? Or are you undercharging and over delivering? Your bank balance has really a lot of answers for you in here, because if you have more going out each month and than's coming in, or if you have hardly any difference between the two, I'm telling you now, you are undercharging your clients. So it can really tell you a lot. It's really important for you to be doing this and checking and spring cleaning your finances. It doesn't have to be scary. It can be incredibly empowering to know where every penny in your business is going and take back control of it. Next, we're going to revisit your goals and aspirations. Remember those massive goals that you set yourself back in January? Well, go and find them, reopen that notebook or have a look at that vision board, the planner, wherever you wrote them down, and now review them. Ask yourself, am I still on track? Or have I massively veered off course, maybe chasing some shiny objects or reacting to what others are doing or have said to you? That can be a really powerful thing. It might be asking yourself, are these goals even actually still what I want? Sometimes we realize when you've spent months working towards something, but actually it's not really that aligned anymore with where I'm wanting your business to go. So, this is your permission to pivot if you feel the need, but make sure that it is aligned with you. It's not because of what someone else has said to you or what because the rest of the market or industry seems to be doing. Make sure that the goals that you have are exactly what you want and where you want your business to go. And then make sure where you are and every step that you're taking is moving you closer to those goals. So, this is about getting back into alignment with your business. You need to let go of the goals that aren't exciting you anymore, refocusing on the ones that do, and then map out what you need to do in the next 90 days to move closer to that vision that still feels so true to you. It's not necessarily who you were in January, it might be completely different, but it's who you are right now. And that is so important to review and figure out exactly where you're going for the rest of the year. Next, we're going to look at your diary and commitments. Now, I want you to open your calendar. Go on, wherever you are, whether it's a digital or paper, open it up and look at everything that you have said yes to. Because here's the thing, your calendar is a direct reflection of your priorities. And if it's filled up with things that don't really feel aligned, your energy is going to be scattered and drained all over the place. So check in with your diary. Ask yourself, are these meetings or networking events or collaborations, are they actually aligned with my goals and where I'm wanting my business to go? Are they putting out the right message and aligning me with the right missions and visions to explain to my audience what I'm passionate about? Or are they just people pleasing or fear based or thick yeses? You are allowed to say no, and you are allowed to cancel something if it no longer feels right for you. And here's the final one, and the most important one: you are allowed to create white space in your calendar, because that space, that's where your most aligned ideas and your clearest strategies and your best client work lives. Also, don't underestimate how powerful it is to simply have time to breathe. Not every minute of your week needs to be scheduled. In fact, I'd argue that the most successful business owners protect their unscheduled time like gold. For me, I actually, which, you know, might seem funny, but I actually schedule in white space in my calendar. So I will schedule like a 2 hour block, and it's literally for nothing. I put nothing in it. I just don't allow anything to be added to it. So if there is something that I need to catch up on, I can use that time for that. If it is to work on my business, to brainstorm, to review things, I can use it for that. But if it's been a particularly heavy week and I just need some brain space, I can go out for a walk, I can sit in front of the TV and catch up on maths. I can do whatever I need to do for those 2 hours, and it is really, really powerful. So I'd highly recommend making sure that you have those white spaces in your diary. Use this spring clean as a chance to wipe the slate clean, cut out the noise, and honor your energy. Don't become the type of person that says yes to everything because you are too nervous to use that two-letter word. Stand by your guns, stand by your passions, your alignment, and your vision, and say no if it doesn't match your vision and your goals. And one more bonus tip is to go through all of the places that your brand shows up and ask yourself if it's still aligned with who you are and what you offer. Is the messaging clear and consistent? So review your, bios online, your offers, your website, even your email signature, and check that they're reflecting where you're going, not just where you've been. This might feel like a small, insignificant job, but it can make a huge difference because when you simplify your message, the right people can find you faster and trust you quicker. Now, finally, I just want to talk about one of my favorite tools for simplifying and gaining clarity in my business. That is the Pareto principle, or what you might have heard called the 80-20 rule. Let me explain. The Pareto principle says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. It originally came from observing that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the population. How mad is that? But in business, this principle shows up everywhere. It means that 80% of your income likely comes from just 20% of your offers or clients. 80% of your engagement probably comes from just 20% of your content. And 80% of your stress probably comes from just 20% of your to do list. Let that sink in. 80% of your stress is likely coming from 20% of your to do list. We spend so much time trying to do it all, but if we just zoom out, most of what we're doing isn't actually moving our business forward. So often we lose ourselves in these tiny tasks that really don't move our business or mean anything to the success of our business, but it's sort of a safety zone. It's sort of a space where we know that we can achieve that task. It's not putting any too much pressure on us. It's a great way to procrastinate. So we spend so long on these tiny little tasks where the real juicy tasks that will move the needle and get our business moving, we avoid at all costs. So, how do you use this tool practically in your business? Well, firstly, look at your weekly to do list. Highlight the 20% that are actually going to create some momentum for you. The actions that are going to bring in some income, that are going to grow your visibility or build real connections. And then ask yourself, how can I do more of those things? How can I make them even easier to repeat in my business? And then once you've got those 20%, you need to clear the decks. You need to remove or delegate the rest of them because they are time wasters. They are not things that are going to move your business forward. They're not going to benefit you or add any value to yourself, your time, your day. They just need to be gone. So be ruthless. Look at that to do list. And I promise you, if you're honest with yourself, there'll be so many tasks that you can just clear off the deck. Then, instead of constantly adding more tasks back onto that to do list, come back to the ones that matter the most. If you are feeling overwhelmed, just simplify your focus. We can so often get lost in those smaller details and in the feeling that we should be doing this or we should be doing that. That person over there is doing this thing, and why aren't we doing it? There's so much noise around us, but your brain is not a machine. It needs clarity to thrive. So just imagine how much lighter you would feel if your to do list just had three really intentional, needle moving tasks each day, not like 37 scattered ones that keep you busy, but keeping your business stuck. Really ask yourself here, what are the main three tasks that I can do that will make instant impact to my business? And then start there. And if you're wondering which offer to market or which platform to focus on, this is where, again, go back to that 80/20 rule. Where are your returns currently coming from? Which service or product is bringing in the most profit? On your social media platforms, which one is growing the quickest? Which one are you getting that most traction with? And um, which has the best audience for you? And where are you getting that energy and the income or the results? Because that's your answer. 20% of your social media platforms and your content that you're creating is the ones that are actually benefiting your business. So if you're focusing on, say, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, you might discover when you do this that actually nothing is coming in at all financially from LinkedIn. So it's a waste of your time. Stop putting any energy into it and just focus on the platforms that are bringing in income and grow those. And then maybe in the future, you can revisit LinkedIn. But for now, this whole process, this whole spring clean is about simplifying everything that you are doing to create that mental space for you to move forward. Let me say this clearly: your business does not have to feel chaotic to be successful. You are allowed to create a business that feels light, and you are allowed to choose simplicity. You are allowed to focus on clarity and impact and joy. So, if things have felt a bit foggy or messy or stuck, this is your sign to clear it all out: the offers, the systems, the calendar, the mental clutter, the financial weeds. Spring is your opportunity to clean the slate, reset your direction, and give yourself the freedom to move forward. And remember, this is not about perfection, this is about progress with purpose. Okay, I know that section was a lot, so let's just take a breath. We've cleaned up the offers, the systems, the diary, and the finances, but none of it truly sticks if we don't clear the mental clutter that's constantly swirling around in the background. Your mind is carrying more tabs than your laptop. And just like a cluttered desk, a cluttered mind makes it really hard to focus. It's hard to be creative and hard to move forward with confidence. So, this next section is all about mental clarity, clearing the fog so you can actually hear yourself think again. Number one is the power of journaling and brain dumping. I am a huge advocate for a great big pet brain dump. I love it. It's the only thing that can get me to sleep sometimes. So, I'll tell you all about that in a minute. But you've probably heard a lot of people say you should journal 100 times, right? Everybody says it. But let me tell you what it actually looks like and why it's such a game changer. Because journaling isn't about writing beautiful sentences or poetic reflections. I mean, it can be for some people, and that's amazing, but I don't have that skill. I can't write everything in beautiful Shakespearean text. For me, it's very much just blur, word vomit on a paper, just getting it out. And it helps me feel so much lighter instantly. It is about emptying your mind onto that paper so your thoughts can stop bouncing around in your head. And this is what I call a brain dump. And it is exactly what it sounds like. Literally, I grab a notebook or a scrap of paper, anything. You can do it in a Google Doc, you can do it online, and you just write. There's no structure to it, there's no judgment or pressure. Just pull out what's in your head. It can be that to do list that you're constantly carrying around in your brain, that random idea that you had in the shower. For me, honestly, every time I'm in the shower or when I'm trying to fall asleep, those are the two main things for me. Basically the most inconvenient times for me to have a pen and paper with me. That is where I get my best ideas. So I try and, I have so much pressure on myself to keep it in my mind until I'm somewhere where I can write it down. So brain dumps are a perfect place to offload all of those things that I've been holding on to, all of those ideas. It can be a conversation that you've been replaying. I mean, I'm sure we all do that 100 times. If you've been thinking about a new offer that you want to launch, or been really stressing or worrying about something and you just haven't been able to shake it off. It's not necessarily about solving anything in that moment, it's just about clearing the space. When we hold all of that in our heads, it creates low level anxiety. It is a constant hum of pressure that makes us feel busy even when we're sitting still. But when you write it down, when you get it out of your head and get it onto paper, you're releasing all of that tension and anxiety. And honestly, it's like a physical reaction for me. I can feel the weight being lifted off me. You're creating space again, and you can honestly feel like you can just breathe again. It's so important to do this on the regular and just get everything down on paper. And then the next point is about how you organize all of that, and you organize those ideas so they can stop distracting you from what's important today. So, I want to dive into shiny object syndrome. That these are the things for me, every new idea feels really exciting and really urgent, even if it's completely derailing me from my actual goals at this current time. So, it's not that having all of those ideas are bad at all, because they're amazing and they're things that could be huge for my business or my clients in the future. But they're not for right now. I'm already, there's always a project on hand and I need to focus on that project, the current stuff that I'm working on, the current goals, and not get distracted. So if you don't have somewhere to store those ideas, and they just become mental clutter, and they can easily pull your focus and dilute your energy for the things that you're meant to be focusing on right now. And then you feel like you're just never doing enough. So here's my tip and how I cope with this. I create, it's like an ideas parking space. It can be a notebook, a Trello board, again, a Google Doc, anything that is going to work for you, but whatever feels natural to you that you will have easy access to. And then every time you get a new idea for whether it's product, service, for me, it could be a podcast episode, just write it down, get it down there as quickly as you can. So you release all of that, energy and attraction for it, and then just leave it alone. For me, knowing it was in a safe space, so I couldn't ever forget it. That when I'm next ready, the current project is completed and I'm ready to move on to something new, I can go to that list and pick which one works for me in that moment. So, don't drop everything to start it right away. Don't convince yourself that it's urgent today. It's just put it somewhere safe, schedule a time to revisit it. Maybe that's once a month or every quarter, or like I said, once you finish the current project, whenever it is, schedule that time in. And this way, you're honoring your creativity. You're allowing those thoughts to come in and those ideas, but without letting it take over. You can stay on track with your goals while still collecting the gold for the future. Next, I want to talk about getting outside. Honestly, nature is such a brilliant mind reset, and it's really simple and really powerful. You just go outside. Seriously, I know it sounds basic, but hear me out. There is something so magical about this time of year. The air is warmer, the trees are blooming, the amount of blossom that is everywhere at the moment is so beautiful. And everything feels like it's just coming back to life. And it can include you, you can really feel that in springtime. So if your mind is still feeling a bit foggy or tight, you're really stuck on something, you're not sure, you can't see a way moving forward, getting outside can reset your entire nervous system. So a really beautiful thing to do this time of year is to take that journal that we were talking about earlier, go and sit in the garden or in the park, or even just, on your front step. Don't take your phone, leave your phone behind and sit there. Let the sunshine hit your face. Listen to the birds, feel the breeze and the stillness, and then write everything down. Get it all out of your mindset. You don't need a fancy sort of meditation practice. You just need that space. You just need the fresh air and the space to think. So just giving yourself that space and feeling the spring sunshine on your face is so amazing. And often, your best ideas can come after the walk or after that cup of tea that you've just had in the garden. Basically, after the moment of pause that you've just given yourself. Nature really clears the noise. It reminds you that you're part of something bigger, and it gives your brain that white space that we're craving so often. Especially if you've been in, that go, go, go mode since January. These small resets are where you're going to connect with yourself again, with your why and your direction for your business. Once your thoughts are out of your head and on paper, and you've given yourself that time for, some fresh air and some breathing room, now it's time to start gently reflecting. You can ask yourself questions like, what am I holding on to that is no longer serving me? What's one belief or story that I'm ready to release? What do I need more of or less of in my life? There's so many questions that you can ask yourself that are all around reframing, shifting out of those maybe heavy, dark rain clouds that you've been holding over yourself the last few months. And shifting out of that guilt or pressure or perfectionism that we've been feeling and turning it back into some purpose and alignment and ease for yourself. And again, you don't need to have all the answers today, but starting the process of asking the right questions starts opening the doors to real clarity. And one final thing I just want to recap on here is the importance of that mental white space. You are not a robot. You are a creative, brilliant, passionate person building a business that's meant to change lives, right? But you cannot operate at your best when your mind is constantly jammed with tasks and tabs and noise. So, part of your mental spring clean is protecting your quiet time. So, I spoke in the last section about creating that white space in my diary and holding on to that for dear life. You can do that in your day to day life as well. So, it can be as simple as just starting your morning with 15 minutes of no phone time or journaling in the morning before you dive into your emails and start your day. Again, it can be something just a 10-minute walk at lunchtime or scheduling thinking time into your calendar. Like I said, yes, really get that white space in your diary. Because again, your biggest insights often come in the silence. And when you allow yourself to create that space, not only, I promise, will your stress levels drop, but your business ideas will sharpen, your decisions will get easier, and your next steps will become crystal clear. So let's have a quick recap. Brain dumping is so powerful. Honestly, everything that's swirling around in your head, get it onto paper or into your computer so it's somewhere safe. Get outside and connect with some nature and then reflect and reframe what is no longer serving you. And finally, make sure that you create that space for clarity and creativity. Your mind deserves the same love and care as your business strategy or your desk drawer. Because when your thoughts are clear, your message becomes clearer, your energy becomes lighter, and then the next moves for your business become easier to make. Okay, so now that we've cleared our business and our mind, let's turn our attention to something a little more tangible, our space. Clutter doesn't just live in our schedules or our thoughts, it lives in our environment. And whether we realize it or not, that environment can deeply affect how we think, how we work, and how we feel in our business. You know that feeling when you walk into a messy room and instantly you feel your shoulders tense up? That isn't in your head, it's physical clutter creates mental chaos. So, this section is all about clearing your space from the obvious spots to the ones that we forget about, those little pockets that slowly start to pile up and steal our focus and our energy. So, let's start with your desk. No, this is an obvious one, and there's so much that happens in this because it's more than just a surface where your laptop sits. It's sort of like it's your head office, it's your command center, your creative hub. It's the physical space where all of your ideas come to life and where the client calls happen, where the strategies are born. So if that space is really chaotic, guess what? Your mind is going to mirror that chaos. You've probably heard that phrase, tidy space, tidy mind. But I can 100% confirm that it is actually true. When my desk is cluttered with, oh God, honestly, notebooks stacked everywhere, empty mugs, pens that don't work anymore. Does anyone else relate to that? Post-its with cryptic messages like check. I mean, honestly, check what, Claire? Give yourself some more detail. It makes me feel really fuzzy before I've even opened up my emails. So if you're anything like me, sometimes that clutter creeps in slowly. and then one day you leave a receipt there, then the next day it's a half-eaten, protein bar and a stack of receipts that you promise yourself you'll sort out later. So here is your cue to reclaim your workspace with intention. So for me, I have to start by clearing the surface completely, and I mean everything. The laptop, the papers, pens, planners, everything. I take it all off and I give my desk a really good wipe down. I have a white desk and a cat who is a very needy cat. So often I get paw prints all over my desk. So having this time where I take everything off and giving it a really good wipe down is a really powerful thing for me. And physically, it's like resetting the space with a clean slate mentally too. Then, as I put things back, you've got to ask yourself, do I really need this on my desk every day? Does this item actually help me feel focused or does it distract me? There's so many items that you think you're going to need, but actually, if you ask yourself when the last time you used it was probably months ago. So here's what I recommend keeping on your desk. Obviously, your laptop or your main working device, a notepad, one notepad, and one or two, really good pens. And then something nice that will bring you joy, like a candle or a plant or a photo of your family, something that is going to bring a smile to your face whenever you see it. And then maybe just a couple more essentials. For me, I always have my calculator to hand for when I'm looking at the finances. I always have a hand cream. So there's little things that are, personal to you that you will use a lot. They're fine. They can be on your desk, but it's all about creating a space that's really calming and energizing and functional. You want your desk to sort of feel like it's inviting you in. It's a space that you actually want to sit at. You're going to be there for quite a while. You don't want it to be making you stressed or just feeling cluttered in your mind. And there is actually science behind this too. When your environment is really cluttered, your brain receives constant signals that something needs to be done. It triggers like low level stress and splits your attention, meaning you're more likely to feel that overwhelmed and unfocused on the tasks at hand. But if you have a really clean, organized space, it tells your brain, okay, I'm safe, I'm supported, I'm ready to go. And you can instantly feel calmer, more in control, and more productive. And if you've ever cleaned your workspace and then suddenly felt a wave of like motivation, that's not a coincidence. It's because your nervous system is responding to a sense of clarity and order. And also, just a quick side note here, you need to make sure that it's feeling physically comfortable too. So checking in with how your space feels, it's things like, is your chair supportive? Is your screen at a good eye level? Are you constantly shifting to get comfortable? Because your body deserves just as much attention as your system and your mind. Don't put up with a wobbly, half broken chair or a hard kitchen stool any longer than you need to, because investing in a workspace that feels good on your body makes a huge difference to how long and how well you can focus. And you might also want to ask yourself, what kind of work do I actually want to do in this space? If you want to do like deep creative thinking, is your desk too visually distracting? If you are coaching clients, does the background feel professional and on brand, or do you have your washing line in the background? And if you batch content, do you have quick access to the tools or notes or props that you might need for that? Design your space to support your best work. It's your space, right? Not just for any work. And if your home office is just in a corner of the dining room or a makeshift space in the bedroom, like so many of us since lockdown, that's okay. This isn't about needing a Pinterest perfect workspace. It's just about creating intentionally a space that will bring everything that you need with ease each day. So even if it's just a small tray with your laptop on and a candle, that can become your dedicated work zone, It's just creating a beautiful space that you'll feel calmer in and then making sure that it's tailored to your needs. And then one final tip, you can create a weekly desk reset ritual. This is great for like a Friday or whatever your last working day of the week is. But just take 10 minutes to sort of clear away anything that's gathered during the week, because we will always have something, the post that you open that you haven't yet filed. There'll always be a few bits and pieces that gather up, but make sure that they're cleared away. You've filed any loose papers. You throw out any old to do lists or reminders that you don't need. Give everything a quick wipe down and then refresh that notepad or planner for the week ahead. Those small rituals signal to your brain that the week is complete. The new one will begin with clarity and intention. And it's such a beautiful, powerful way to end the week with purpose. Your desk is the physical reflection of your business mindset. So let's treat it with the same love, focus, and alignment that you're bringing into everything else in your business. It's not about being neat, it's about being clear. Because when you sit down at a space that's set up to support you, honestly, magic can happen. Next, I just want to really touch very quickly on your wardrobe. Now, this might seem really unrelated to business, but just hear me out. How do you feel when you're getting dressed for a networking event or a Zoom call, or even just a day from working from home? Are you like completely confident and ready to go? Or are you standing in front of your wardrobe, overwhelmed, thinking, oh, I've got nothing to wear? Or, oh, I wore that last week. That's not professional enough, even though it's absolutely bursting at the seams. Or your wardrobe, it might not seem like a big deal, but it's a daily decision. And let me tell you, decision fatigue is a very real. We make thousands of micro decisions every single day, especially as business owners. And the more decisions we make, the more depleted our brain becomes. So when we start our morning trying to figure out what to wear, going through different outfit choices, trying to put something together that looks a little bit cohesive, we're already spending those precious we're already spending precious mental energy before we've even touched our to-do list. So, simplifying your wardrobe can actually be a really powerful business move. Ask yourself things like, do I have just a few go to outfits that really make me feel like the best version of myself? Do I actually love what's in my wardrobe? Are there clothes in there that I'm holding on to still that, don't even fit me anymore or I don't like anymore, don't show my personality? Give your wardrobe a really good spring clean and let it be the opportunity to clear out everything that doesn't fit, that doesn't feel good, or it just doesn't feel like you anymore. And then try and create a kind of mini capsule wardrobe of a few pieces that you can reach for without ever thinking. These are sort of, a networking wardrobe, for instance, things that that you'll feel really confident and comfortable in when you're going out networking and having them all together. So, honestly, even if it's just creating a few signature outfits, it can take a huge load off your brain. And then less stress in the morning equals more energy for your business. Okay. And then two final, really quick little areas to think about: computer and digital space. I don't know about you, but I can have like honestly 50 tabs open. It's so stressful. My husband thinks I'm actually mad, but it's how I work and function. And then every so often I'll just be like, oh my God, my computer is so slow, or I can't find anything. There's too many. So every so often I will make sure that I really have a good clear out. There'll be things that I don't even need anymore, or things that I can just start and favorite so I can find them later. But having this like 10, 15 minutes every so often just to clear down your desktop, for instance, clear down those tabs, delete anything that you don't need, empty the downloads folder, closing all those tabs. A tidy digital space is a really amazing, productive thing that will really help you focus each day and just know exactly where things are. And finally, your phone. Now, I know that this one's a big one, but your phone is with you all day and it is so full of noisy notifications, unorganized apps, social feeds that, constantly feed leaving you comparing yourself to others. And let's not even talk about the photo albums. It's not just clutter, it's like an emotional energy drain. So take some time to turn off unnecessary notifications. I have absolutely no notifications switched on my phone because I found that I would get a notification or someone's liked something on Instagram and I'd be gone for like half an hour. So turn off all of your notifications. Make sure you delete any apps that you don't use anymore. Unfollow or mute accounts that make you feel less than. Like, you don't need that in your life. Clear them out. You don't need that stuff filling up your feeds. Create folders in your phone that you can actually find things. Make your phone work for you. One of the things, obviously, I'm creating content all the time for my social media, and I do not want to be scrolling through my photos trying to find one sort of selfie of myself. So I created a folder on my phone that all of my like social media worthy images are all in there, and it saved me so much time. So, yeah, make your phone work for you, clear out all of the dead space and make it an enjoyable experience for you. Okay, we've spring cleaned your business, we've decluttered your mind, we've reset your space, and here's the beautiful thread that ties it all together. You don't need to add more to become the business owner that you want to be. You just need to create space in your systems, in your thoughts, in your calendar, in your environment, so you can finally hear your intuition again. So you can breathe and move forward with that clarity and that direction and that confidence. This season, give yourself permission to simplify and start afresh. Whether it's retiring an old offer, clearing out that junk drawer, writing down all of the ideas that are crowding your brain, or finally updating your wardrobe, it all counts and it all contributes to a business and life that feels lighter, brighter, and more aligned. So here's your challenge this week: pick just one area from today's episode and take action. Maybe it can be cancelling an old subscription or just clearing your desk down, brain dumping all of your ideas, or saying no to a meeting that no longer aligns. One small act of spring cleaning can create huge shifts in momentum and mindset. And when you do it, I want to hear all about it. You can tag me on Instagram, send me a DM, or share this episode with a friend who needs it too. But let's keep each other accountable and let's make this season the one where we finally stop overcomplicating and start building with ease. You have got this. You are doing amazing, and the space that you are creating now, it's making room for something really special. So until next time, keep being bold, keep showing up, and keep decluttering. See you next week. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode, which was brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of small businesses and a proud sponsor of the Bold Blueprint podcast. If you're running a small business and you are dreaming big, then Xero is here to help make those dreams a reality. Xero is all about supporting entrepreneurs just like you, who are not just running businesses but are also changing the game. So whether you're just starting out or you're scaling up, join a global community of small businesses who trust Xero to manage their finances efficiently.